Be free, be free, be free.
Welcome to another episode of We Talk TV. I am your host, Parson Sean Parson, whatever you prefer. Today's episode, we will be talking about mental health awareness, awareness and dating, relationships, specific for teens. I have a very special guest today. Her name is Eliza Smith. Now, Eliza Smith has been doing pageants since the age of 6. Um, the ideal person. She's a teenager, graduating college at the age of 16, um, done pageants around the country, actress, model, Junior Platinum Honor Society. Definitely someone worth speaking to, and just a all around inspiration to kids and teenagers all around. She's actually waiting in the lobby, so I'm actually going to invite her in right now to kind of get started here. So let's welcome Eliza. Hey, Eliza.
Hi everyone. Hi Sean, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm a little nervous, but I'm so excited to be here.
Nah, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. This is your spotlight. A pleasure to have you here. I kind of wanted to kind of gave a little intro to the audience, a little background about you. From my understanding, you've been in the world of pageantry. Started off at the age of 6.
Yep.
You're now 16, graduating high school early. Um,
Yeah.
and kind of actress, model, all around inspiration. And I believe you also have a platform geared towards mental health awareness. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I missing anything, or did we
No,
cover
I think
everything?
you pretty much covered it. I've dipped my toes in all of the waters. I've done dancing, acting, singing, the whole like theatrical vibes. I've done it all, pageantry. I've done pageants for about 10 years now, so I've been in that field a very long time. I currently have my own podcast as well as
Mm,
platform, like you said, mental health awareness.
mm,
I'm 16, graduating early. I'm a part-time gymnastics instructor, which is a little different for me considering I'm not very athletic. But you know what? I really needed a job. I have to pay for gas somehow, but I really like my job. And I'm also a high school student as well, and I'm dual enrolled at my local community college. So I kind of have my plates full.
yeah, you're
All
you're
in.
kind of wearing like hats, like multiple hats, kind of
Oh yeah,
everywhere.
yep.
Yeah.
Every day is just a new hat.
How do you like juggle everything? There's only like 20. There's only legit 24 hours in the day. How do you kind of maneuver everything? And then on top of that, you are I believe it's Junior Platinum Honor Society. Am I correct?
Science National Honor Society. Yep.
Well, even even more impressive. So what's your routine like? How do you stay focused? Like how do you not let everything get to your head? Like kind of like walk us through your lifestyle.
Okay, so I don't know. There's not specifically a specific thing that I do to kind of keep myself grounded. I am a very anxious person. I deal with anxiety. So I go through that every day. I go through different thoughts going through my head, and I'm always go, go, go. I rarely have moments where I'm just kind of grounded and like calm.
Okay.
For me, honestly, the thing that I do to keep myself like organized and calm is showering. I take showers like they help me relax and help me get my thoughts in order. And I feel like that's the only place where I can just cry, be myself, think out loud and nobody's judging me.
Okay.
And as for, all the different things that I juggle and, have to put myself through every day, honestly, I'm just trying to learn how to take it day by day. I'm somebody that is very future
Mhm,
orientated, if that makes sense. I always want to think ahead and plan in the future.
mhm.
So I'm trying to learn how to just focus on the moment now and live
Okay.
in it before the moment is gone.
Mhm.
Also, planning and organizing is another thing too. I have to plan something, whether it's a calendar on a piece of paper, on the notes app of my phone, because I'm very forgetful. So I just, yeah, there's not a specific routine. I'm kind of all over the place, but
Okay.
I learned to embrace it.
What would you say is your biggest challenge?
Going back to the anxiety, I think the anxiety
Mhm,
is my biggest challenge. I'm still learning how to kind of cope with that.
mhm,
And like I said, become more grounded and more present. But anxiety for me has always been a really difficult thing for me these past few years. I haven't necessarily been diagnosed, but I feel
mhm.
like that's just a thing that a lot of people have. And I feel like you know that you have that.
Yeah.
But for me personally, that's one of the biggest challenges for me, and also being really hard on myself. I feel like I've somebody that's has so much expectations to live up to.
Mhm.
And I feel like if I don't meet them, that I'm gonna, be a failure and everybody's gonna hate me. So I'm just like, I put so much pressure on myself. And somebody was telling me the other day too that I need to kind of be in the present and like be proud of myself and kind of take breaks and understand that I'm doing the best that I can.
Mhm.
But that's really difficult for me because I don't know. I put so much pressure on myself because I want to succeed in life. And
Okay.
there's nothing wrong with that, but
No, no, nothing wrong at all. And when looking at your life right now, and you're looking at, like the relationships that we all have on a day-to-day basis, what are some of the relationships? Do you have mentors or people there for you that kind of guide you in aspects of your everyday life? Your parents, what does it look like for relationships, whether it's at school, friends, or if you're dating, in the aspect of dating, what does that look like in high school? If you
okay.
don't mind me asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of I'll take it like person by person,
Yeah.
case by case.
Roll
So
by
for
roll. Let's
roll by
let's
roll, yeah.
go with it.
Let's start with the most important role, which is your family and your parents. For me, I'm lucky where I have a very supportive family that have helped me academic wise, mental health wise, not so much. If I'm being completely
Yeah.
honest,
Honesty is the best policy.
honesty is the best policy. Mental health wise, not so much, but school wise, definitely. They've pushed me so much to be the successful student that I am and be on this really amazing path that honestly not a lot of 16-year-olds are on. So I'm really grateful for that. But then going back to the mental health aspect, while there is a little bit of support from my family, I feel like there isn't enough support.
Okay.
Um, but that's something that has to kind of go with communication. I just feel like you take it day by day, and I'm trying my best, build the relationships with, my mom and my siblings to try to get them to understand what I'm going through and understand what they're going through as well.
Mhm.
But I know for a lot of us teenagers, our parental relationships are not the best
Okay.
because there's a lot of miscommunication between a parent figure and their children. I see it so many times with my friends and hearing their stories about, the interactions with their parents. And I think it all goes with communication and honestly listening.
Mhm.
If both the parent and the child listen and take the time to just understand and really interpret what a person is saying to them, I feel like it'll go so far. Whereas, you tell your parent something and then they just, snap at you for it and then they don't listen. And that's part of the reason why we see a lot of teens, dealing with mental health issues as well. So that's like the parent family side of that question. Then moving on to the friendships wise, I have a lot of friendships, grateful and lucky to have. One thing that I will say is when it comes to having friendships in high school, I feel like our family tells us really quite often that they're not going to last.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a bad thing to do because you're not giving that person the opportunity to actually like, live out that friendship and kind of go through it. And one thing I try to like tell people is that, okay, yeah, this friendship might not last after high school, but what matters is right now
Yeah.
and having those support systems right now. Because with COVID, especially in the isolation period, having friendships were super important and having communications with people. So I feel like if we're thinking in the future when, God knows what will happen then. We don't know. I don't know if I'll be friends with these people, but what matters is that we're friends now and that they're there for me now when I most need it. So I feel like that's a key aspect in teenager friendships to just to not listen to what your parents are saying. Oh, your relationship with them is not going to last. Don't listen to that. Just what matters is the present. Just see where it goes from there when it comes to your friendships. But for
Would
me
you say
personally,
that it's sorry to cut you off. Would you say that there's a life cycle to those friendships, or is it more? I'm kind of curious as to the bond that's being built. Is it something that that it's like you're learning something from them, that it's an experience, or how does that all kind of fit together within that aspect?
yeah, so I think with friendships and relationships, romantic, platonic, whatever you want to call it, I think with both is a cycle to it. I feel like at some point, no matter who it is, it might come to an end.
Okay.
Emphasis on the might, because a lot of
Okay.
friendships do last, a lot of relationships last, but I feel like it's a cycle. And I feel like with every relationship, friendship that you're in, you learn something.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I hate when people say that building relationships and friendships in high school is a bad thing, because I feel like it's our most primitive years to get those experiences to carry it on to our 20s, our 30s, our 40s. Because high school, I feel like high school memories stick. Like, how many memories do you have from high school that you actually remember?
A lot.
Exactly. So
But
I feel like those
yeah.
high school memories are the ones that are really like nailed into your brain. I feel like high school is a raved about thing. We see it on TV, High School Musical, like it's something that everybody's excited for. So I feel like building relationships and having those friendships is important to know, first of all, to know what you want in a relationship when you're older. And also, if you're in a relationship with somebody in high school, there's a very high chance you're going to go through a heartbreak. But for me personally, I'd rather go through that early on than be in like my late 20s and trying to deal with that as an
Yeah.
adult, and, trying to balance just getting broken up with and like having a job and a career. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
that gets very eclectic and chaotic. So learning from early on time how to deal
Yeah.
with that, I feel is so much better than.
So have you been in that situation in which you've been in the have you have to deal with heartbreak? Have you been in that position in which what is dating like in high school? If you don't mind like giving us a scenario, whether it's yourself, um, whether it's experiencing it as a third party. My idea, because to be honest with you, I definitely agree with you. I do think that going to high school myself, we've pretty much all been through high school.
Yeah.
It's a lot has changed from when I went to high school from when you
Oh
went to
yeah.
high
Yep.
school. It's a lot has changed. And
Yeah.
your situation is really different. Um, because I believe when we were talking before, I know you grew up in New York City. You started your life off in New York City, went through the school system here. You've been through relationships with friends, built that bond, and then you moved to Florida, and then you kind of had to start all over again
Yep.
and go through that experience. What was that like in like leaving behind the relationships that you've built in New York City and then moving to a completely different environment and having to start all over again? What was that like in aspects of like building bonds with friendship, and then kind of like understanding more of the dating scene of what the relationships are and what you think would kind of like take you into like your adulthood.
Okay. Okay. So
Paint
for
us
me,
a picture, alive. Paint us a
yes, I
picture.
will paint a lovely picture like the one behind me.
Yes, a beautiful picture behind you.
Yes, there's like couples making out in the corner, I think. I don't know. I mean, but if you want to know what it looks like in high school, that's what every couple does in high school. Um, but for me personally, having that change of moving was one of the most difficult things for me. I just finished middle school. So honestly, the relationships I built in New York were gonna get deteriorated at some point because we were all going to different high schools. And I knew that there was going to be a point where we wouldn't have contact at all. And most of the people I was friends with in middle school for all 3 years actually bullied me, and some of them were really mean to me.
Oh wow.
But I'm a person where I kind of like forgive
See the best.
people and I see the best in people. Yeah, that's who I am. So I never like ended my friendships with them because I thought that they would get better and whatever, whatever. But they ended up doing the same thing. But that's a whole like story that I could go on and about. But for me, honestly, the relationship that mattered most when I moved was my family. Because I have three little cousins. They're all growing up so fast, and it really upset me that I wouldn't be there for all the important milestones. Like my little cousin Sarah, like this, like she's my little bundle of joy. Like I changed her diapers, I nurtured her, I like my little precious, and like to not be there for the important moments kind of, it made me really upset because, you know, I live like 2,000 miles away now. So it's not easy. And then my dad lives in New York, and my grandma lives in New York, and my uncle lives in New York. So, you know, those are the most important relationships. And I feel like once I moved here, I kind of became distant from them. But it's not their fault and it's not my fault. I feel like that just naturally occurs because everybody's so busy living their own lives.
Yeah.
It's chaotic, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time my dad, my grandma, my uncle, every time somebody comes to me and says, you don't text us, blah blah blah, I get so upset on the inside because I'm like, I'm sorry, like
You
I'm
have a
busy.
life. You have a
I
life.
have like I have homework to do, to be honest with you. Like I have essays to write almost every week, so I don't have time. And then the excuse comes up like with my friends, and I talk to my friends. That's because we're teenagers and we just use Snapchat. So that we just snap each other back and forth. But those relationships, English, those relationships really, it was honestly sad to leave those behind and not kind of build more memories in New York because I grew up there. And to have all of that stripped away was really upsetting. I mean, I got over it, but it was upsetting. And then we moved to Tampa, and I was super nervous because I was starting high school. And for anybody, that's a nerve-wracking thing. You're going from middle school to high school. It's a complete whole opposite jump. Um, and to do it in a new state where you don't know anybody is just absolutely traumatizing. Like it's horrific. It was horrific. I remember crying for weeks. Like I was crying, legit crying for weeks about how like nervous and scared I was. And on my first day, I sat at a lunch table by myself for like 15 minutes. And nobody wants to do that on their first day of high school. I was like about to start crying. And then I remember this girl came over, and she's one of my best friends now. Her name is Marilise, but she came over and she sat with me, and it was great. And I was like, look at me, I'm making friends already. And she told me later into our friendship that when she first met me, she could tell that I was a very kind-hearted, light person, and that somebody she needed to surround herself with. And flash forward to mid freshman year, I built so many relationships, so many people. I had so many friends who loved me and cared for me and supported me. And then COVID hit. So we went into a whole period of isolation. And at this time, I did like a boy. I did have a crush.
No.
And we did talk all the time during the whole isolation period during COVID. And I think that if anybody could have a friendship or a relationship and have it last during that COVID period, they'll be pretty set for life because they were able to communicate throughout that whole thing.
No.
But we weren't dating or anything at this time. Like we just liked each other for 7 months, and we just liked each other for 7 months. Like that was pretty much that situation. And then finally quarantine ended, and school started. So a lot of friendships were kind of weird at this point because I didn't talk to a lot of people. I just talked to this one guy. He was my friend, so I talked to him most of the time, and I talked to my friend Bertha. So most of my relationships kind of fell flat because of isolation. And I went to school, and I really only hung out with like 2 people. Like that's it. Compared to freshman year where I had 6 or 7 people plus a group of friends.
Wow.
But I think that goes to show the people that matter most in your life will stay in your life versus the people that don't will fall out and, you know, will go away. And then flash forward to September of last year, I got my first relationship. I'll be dead honest.
No.
I had a relationship with the guy that we liked for 7 months. And we were dating for a few months, and I didn't tell my parents about it. They found out. It was a whole thing, but we don't have to go into that details. Let's not relive those moments. But one thing that I feel like a lot of people say is that teen love is like doesn't exist, and I feel like there's a lot of stigma around that. But honestly, I feel like teenage relationships and teenage love is one of the most purest forms because when you're adult, I feel like you look for a lot of things in a person, like financially, all of that, like all the artificial things. But with a teenager, you just look at the person and you like them for who they are. And you understand that person for who they are. And I think that's how it was for me in my first relationship. I liked the person for who he was. And there was points where I did try to change him, but you can't change people, which is what I learned. You cannot change people. Don't try to change people. They're not going to change. Don't do that. But for me, I think that um it's important to have the relationship in high school because first of all, everybody has a relationship in high school. Like everybody's gonna want to get into a relationship. And second of all, it taught me what I want from a person, like relationship wise. It taught me that, you can't expect things out of people. If somebody really loves you, they'll just do it because they love you and stuff like that. Like just basic stuff that'll carry with me when I'm older. And it's taught
Yeah.
me what specifically I want in a guy.
Mhm.
But it also taught me that you're not going to be able to find a guy on Amazon. Like the perfect person, a guy, girlfriend, whatever, you can't go shopping for them on Amazon and like put in your shopping cart all these different things that you want. Like
Like
that's
build a
not,
bear. Like build
yeah,
a
it's
bear.
not build a bear. It's not build your perfect boyfriend. It's not how life works. And like for me, I'm a very, very romantic person. Like I watch so many rom-coms, I read so many romance books. So I feel like I have a very misconstrued perception of what a relationship should look like in my head. Because everything that I've watched is perfect, romance,
Yeah.
Hallmark movies. So that's what I expect in my relationship to be. And then when it's not that, you're
It's
just like,
just
wait,
salty and just disturbing.
yeah, I'm like, this is not what I saw in Hallmark. Like, where's my Christmas romance fairy tale? This is not that. But um, flash forward, we ended our relationship mutually because I didn't move again. So that caused a strain with my relationships with a lot of people, actually. But we did end up breaking up, but we're still friends to this day. And that's another thing. You can be friends with your exes, y'all. I feel like so many people think that that's a red flag, but I'm not going to sacrifice a good friendship with
Yeah.
somebody just because we broke up. Like, that's just doesn't make sense to me. Like, we were great friends before and we're still good friends. So forget about the the relationship never happened. Okay,
Yeah.
it was just friendships. But I think for me, I've learned
Well,
that
it does say friend in boyfriend, right?
yeah, exactly. You're so right. Exactly. And everybody that I see on TikTok posting about relationships and stuff, they always say, "Oh, this person's my best friend," yada yada. So I feel like in every relationship, person you're with is going to be your best friend no matter what.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you really have love for each other, even if you break up, that shouldn't matter. You should still be able to have the relationship with the person, the friendship. So I'm lucky and fortunate enough that we still have a really good friendship and I'm able to talk to him about, oh my God, all my issues, all, all my, like, I text in long paragraphs. I'm just sending snap after snap, like with every thought that comes to my head. I'm just like, here you go. You can have it. You can read this. But I'm grateful that I have two very close people I can do that with, and I don't get judgment for that, which is really, really essential for me because, like I said, I'm a very hectic person. um,
Yeah. You have a hectic lifestyle.
I
Um, and just to touch on some of the things that you said. So these are all my opinions. I could be wrong, I could be right. Take it for how it's worth. In the term in You mentioned that during the isolation period, those friendships kind of fell apart. When everyone went back to school, it kind of was like it was just awkward in a sense that
yes.
everyone just kind
Oh
of
my
fell apart.
God.
I think in life it's like you could take it as any relationship. It's like plants, If
Yeah.
you could pluck a rose and give it to someone, and once you pluck it and you hand it, it only has so much life in it. It dies and withers away fast. But if you give someone the actual plant and they water that plant and they love and treat and nourish that plant, what you'll find is that plant, it grows, right? It grows,
Mhm.
it stays alive, and I think that can be found in any relationship. Now, in the aspect of meeting someone in high school and fostering that relationship, I can tell you from experience. Yeah, I had a high school sweetheart. Um, Crazy over her. Go the beyond. Like when I was in high school and I used to fall, I would fall hard, right? And um,
It's the hormones.
yeah, and that's
It's the
exactly that.
hormones. Like,
Yeah, it's you have all these hormones coming in, your body's changing. It's like this is the person. It's like it's everything's so raw and new, right? So when
exactly.
you meet this person, it's like that's what they say. Love is a chemical balance in your head, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, you see this person, and it's like it's all perception, right? Because life is perception, right?
Yeah.
It's when we see someone, we perceive them for our first thought of what we perceive them to be. Same way, you flip it around, it's the same thing. But ultimately, in those early stages of relationships, it's us learning the our wants and what we don't want, right?
Yep.
And I agree with you 100%. It kind of sets you up for in your later in life to identify the types of relationships that you want. And I feel that relationships, the point of relationships earlier on in life is to be able to identify your personal boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could love someone as an adult, you could love someone now until the cows come home, right? But at the end of the day, right, that your feeling towards that person doesn't change who that person is or what their feelings are, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think, and one of the things that I always stress is that, self, right? So your self purpose, your soul's purpose, your soul purpose, right, is just about building up you, focusing on you, understanding yourself, loving yourself, identifying yourself, and living for yourself, and finding self happiness and self worth. Because those are the things that once you establish that within yourself and you can make yourself happy, and you truly identify who you are and loving yourself, it makes it that much easy to understand who you would want to be with, because you want someone to complement your self happiness, your self worth, your self love. And that person that complements that is the person that has found that within themselves, right? And you can't teach a man to be a man, right? You can't change a man and say, "Oh, I need you to be a man. I need you to do this. I need you to do that."
You
That's his
can't do that.
yeah, that's his mom's
That's not how life
his,
works.
that's his mom's job, right? That's his dad's job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He has to want that for himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that I'm a man, right? And I feel that nowadays, I go on social media, I'll see like someone, like you'll have a woman post up a picture, like she's in a bikini or whatever. She'll overly sexualize herself, post a picture, and then you have like 50 million guys just commenting, liking, right? Because it's a
Yeah.
sexualized post. But ultimately, it's a desire, it's a lustful thinking, right?
Yes.
But they're putting themselves into this fantasy rather than them acknowledging themselves. But it's like everything, like if you buy something materialistic or you have something materialistic, and there's no substance in it, right? Eventually, if you're not nurturing it like that plant, it's going to die,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind
Absolutely.
of that's kind of the thought behind that.
That's Yeah, I completely agree. Like that's the same with, relationships and friendships. Like for me, from my old high school, because like I said, I moved from Tampa to somewhere else, so I had to switch high schools. But from my old high school, I can successfully say that I only have like two ongoing friendships that are actually ongoing.
Okay.
Like because we take time to, like you said, nurture the plant. The
Yeah.
plant is our friendship, our relationship, whatever. If we're both people are working to actually grow that plant,
Mhm.
it'll grow. But if one person is, putting too much water in,
Yeah.
that plant's gonna die
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
can't, you know. And I feel like friendships, relationships, it goes both ways.
Mhm.
Like a lot of people, especially in high school, it's most of the time one person puts more into the relationship than the other. I'm a Libra. We're a scale, but we're very unbalanced scale. So I be putting like this much, and then the other people be putting like this much.
So you're a giver.
I'm a giver. This I don't I'm never the receiver, and that's like something that I've learned through like my life with friendships in general. I've learned that I give so much to other people, but I can't expect them to give it to me back.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't,
I
because
don't
it's just who
expect
you
it.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But
who
I
I.
think, mhm.
But I think yeah. Continue.
No, I feel that you're nothing's wrong with being a giver, right?
Yeah.
Because your personality makes you who you are, right? And I feel like never let anyone change you, right? Be who you are, right? But essentially, set boundaries for yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because you could be the giver, but understand who the people are that you're giving to, right? Um,
Yep.
and what I've learned is that, you know, you could give as much as you can, right? But on the other end of the spectrum, when thinking of people, they'll never understand, right, the energy behind you giving, right? Like
Yeah.
you could give someone something or give a gift, right? And put the most thought in the world behind this gift, right? You could use your last dollar to buy this gift or put this person before you put yourself or someone else, right? Because you put
Yeah.
so much energy and thought behind it, right? And you could give this person, they'll see this gift, right? Maybe they don't even like the gift, right?
Yeah.
Right? But they don't see the effort, right? Or actually understand to appreciate the work that was behind making that happen, right? And I think, and to go back to what your parents tell you about, the people that come into your life, and I don't know if you didn't see it, that you started off with a whole group of friends, and kind of when everyone was isolating, and you went through this rough patch, and then things started to bloom again, there was only a handful of people that was actually there. And
Absolutely.
and it's the truth. It's you could go in to high school, and the first day you go there, you'll have like two handfuls of friends,
I
right?
had a lot of friend groups. I was
Yeah,
table jumping for 5 weeks.
right. And
For
then
5 weeks.
by the end of it, the amount of friends that you can count is you can only count about three or four of them,
Yeah, you could count
right?
on one hand.
On one hand, right?
One hand. Yeah.
And that's essentially what happens, you know.
I mean, obviously, there's still people that I talk with,
Mhm.
but like not frequently. Like
Okay.
once in a while, they'll swipe up on my story and say
Mhm.
something.
They'll be
Like,
stalkers. Those are the stalkers, right?
yes. But going back to those two friendships that I mentioned that are really important to me and close or whatever, they were there through all my rough patches, especially my ex. He was there through all of my rough patches, which is like kind of why it makes me upset when my family just sees him as my ex and not my friend,
Yeah.
because he was the only person that was actually there for me when I was
Mhm.
really like crying at school. Like I wanted to die. There was points where I wanted to die, but this person and Bertha were there for me through all those things.
So
And
your
there's
so your family is probably nobody's gonna be good enough for you at the end
yeah,
of the yeah. So that
yeah,
they always see that title rather than seeing the actual person, and they don't know that
exactly.
person
Yeah.
as well as you know that person. You know.
And yeah, that's like if people take the time to understand other people and not judge a person for what they've done or
Yeah.
whatever, we could go so far as a society. But like that's one of the things that I wanted to mention. I think the biggest problem is society in of itself, because we
Mhm.
stigmatize everything. We put a
Okay.
label to everything. If something could be so good and so pure, and we make that the nastiest thing ever, and we make it just a horrid thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of an example. Like I'm gonna go back to relationships. Like relationships, there's so many good aspects of relationship that society stigmatizes too much,
Yeah.
that makes relationships fail.
Yeah.
I think that same thing with mental health. There's too much stigma surrounding it that people put on it, which is why we have all these issues.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And
Like,
what are some solutions that you feel would change things? Like what do you think would would change the game? What's the game changer in your mind?
so that's a hard question, because there's not like, it's not something that can be done in one step. I think it
Okay.
has to be a slow, gradual process. But I think the first thing is definitely mentality.
Mhm.
I think everything that happens in life is has to do with your mindset and how you perceive things.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can't change people. You can't change their mindsets. You have to want to do it on your own.
Yeah.
But I think that if people can understand that sometimes it's okay to change their mindset on certain things, we'll go further as a society, because everything that happens in our lives, we are the ones that think about it, perceive it.
Yeah.
If something bad happens to you, you can choose to let it affect you in a bad way or in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know, it all has to do with your mindset. And also, education, honestly, is the best thing. And I'm not talking about your anatomy textbook at school. I'm not talking about that. Okay. I'm not talking about the AP calculus test that I had to take a few weeks ago. I'm not talking about all that BS. I'm talking about taking the time to actually educate yourself on issues in society, kind of figure out where you stand on it. And honestly, if somebody is coming at you with an opinion, listen to their opinion, but don't give an opinion if you don't have facts on it. A lot of the issues we see, abortion, race, stuff like that, people just want to insert an opinion but not have any clue about what the information is, what the statistics are, nothing. Me, I'm somebody where if I want to have an opinion about something, I want to research about it first and understand the concept, understand what it means before I actually have an opinion. And I think that if we did that, if we actually listen to others and listen to what they're telling us, listen to the information we're receiving and actually process, understand it, we'll go so much better. And if we take the time
To
to just
educate ourselves more.
exactly, yeah, if we take the time to educate ourselves and actually listen to somebody's
Yeah.
opinion and not debunk it, be negative about it, if we just listen to each other, like life would be better because nobody listens to each other. Like
Yeah.
that's why we that's like, oh my god, there's so many problems because this person says this thing and then this person doesn't listen and then they take what that person said and twisted
Yeah.
it. That's why people go through divorces, breakups, like friend breakups. Like that's the problem because I say this, you think I said something completely different because you weren't listening
Mhm.
and you try to spin it back on me. Like that's
Yeah.
no bueno.
They
That's no.
tell they tell you when I was in college that was something that we spoke about. There's a reason that the audiences change based off of the media that's presented for them, right?
Mhm.
So, more of an educated society, you'll find that within I'm going to phrase this to New York, right? So
Right.
for the general population, they'll have daily news, or so the daily news is it's media or news that's I don't want to say dumbed down because dumb is such a harsh word, but it's
Yeah.
watered down media for the general population to understand, right?
Yes.
And then you have the New York Times. It's a paper geared towards educated individuals, but the dialogue that's in those two different medias can generalize society as a whole, right?
Yeah.
So now, even if we look at different groups, right? If you look at the ghetto or you look at different areas within any area, right? You'll find that some areas um, individuals will have less, right? Or it'll be government funded, but the budgeting behind it will be less. And then you have some areas that are flourished or thriving because they're just more fundamentals or more budgeting goes towards that specific area, and it's like a lot of laws is geared towards holding certain ethnic groups and certain social classes down, but
Yeah.
meant to bring up other social classes, right? So the idea now is like being able to educate everyone evenly, right? So there's a difference between being book smart and being street smart, right?
Absolutely.
So I would say that, and within looking at your background, coming from New York, and just being at the age that you are now, I know in New York City, being a New York City native myself, that we teach our children from a young age, like watch both ways before you cross the street, or don't talk to strangers,
Yeah.
or
The fundamentals.
the fundamentals of
Yeah.
living in an area, like living in a city in which every day it's like every day is moving. You have to be all like think a step ahead of everyone else, and then
Maybe that's why
traveling.
I'm the way I am because I grew up in New York.
Yeah, traveling to other areas in my travels, I'll find that uh, that the kids, if I take kids that are raised in the city and I go to suburban areas or I go abroad, you'll see that there's the children from the rate in which that they grow mentally wise, there's a gap, right?
Absolutely.
There's a gap. So like being in when I traveled when I was in Cartagena, when I was in Colombia. I found that, to be honest with you, everyone there is a sales guy, right? They're probably the best salespeople in the world, right? And the kids were like kids that you would think of like when I was growing up, oh, playing outside, like not a care in the world, just like playing outside. And then you come back home, and it's like your kids are like just beyond like they're just like oh, I need to make a YouTube video. I'm playing video games, and they're
Yeah.
just so tech savvy and just so like like
Moving, yeah.
go-getters. They're constantly moving. So it's just you see that difference, right? And I noticed that even within relationships. So I noticed that the difference between relationships that people have in these countries compared to the relationships that have people have in the U.S. There's such a disconnect, right? The values in those relationships are based off of like the littlest things are taken as their at big. They're taking at that worth, right? There's
Hmm.
worth, there's thought, there's understanding behind it. It's praised upon, appreciated, like they really see the value in it. And then in the US, it's like I feel as if we have so much, right?
We don't
That
know what to do with all with what we have.
exactly we
Yeah.
take it for granted.
I
And
have a great
right?
like sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off, but
no, definitely.
I have a great example of this. So in my school, where I live now, we have a student and she's from Mexico. She just moved here a few months ago and she's just here for school, for college. And I remember sitting at lunch with this girl and a few of my friends that, are US residents. We've lived in
Mhm,
the US our whole lives. We were complaining about the education system. We were complaining about something. I don't remember what specifically it was, but
mhm,
my friend, the one from Mexico, she was saying, I came to America to get education and it's different over there
yeah,
compared to here. They don't have what we have.
yeah,
And to hear it like that from a perspective of somebody that doesn't have what Americans have and that what we Americans complain about on a
yeah,
day-to-day basis is
yeah,
crazy because I feel like we take for granted everything that we have and we just complain about a
yeah,
lot of things.
yeah,
We complain about a lot that people in other countries don't have.
yeah.
And yeah,
Like water, right? So
exactly. Yeah,
when I was in Colombia, perfect example. So when I went there, I stayed as if I was a native. I got an Airbnb at someone's apartment. Um, the apartment was just um, it kind of looked like I was in the apartment in The Exorcist, right?
oh
There was
God.
like rosaries on the wall, crosses. Like the beds were small. The bed was so uncomfortable. Um, it was just like the floor. Everything was concrete. It was it was it was just
Different than
different.
what
It was
we're used
different. Yeah. And I remember one day we didn't have the entire city didn't have water, right?
to.
And I was just like, it was hot, humid, like maybe in the mid 90s. It was just
God.
drenched in sweat and just
Oh my
needed to take a shower. And there was like no water. There's no water in the entire
sweat is
city,
for
right?
water.
Had to go to the store, buy like bottles of water to like fill it up in a bucket to like take a shower. I was like, damn, right? And everyone was complaining. Everyone was complaining. But then it was like, you know, and the water pressure, right? To be honest with you, it sucks, right?
Yeah.
And then you come back here and it's like, oh, you're taking a bath, like just
Yeah, it's like,
soaking
whoa,
it
oh
up.
my
You're like, ooh,
God.
like I'm chilling. And
No.
it's you really
In
don't
New
realize.
York, you
Yeah,
got the fans that you put in the window. You come to Florida, you got central air.
central
I went
air.
to New York for 1 week and I was like, I'm dying in this hot heat. Like, where's the central air when you need it? It's like a
Yeah.
culture shock wherever
It
you
is.
go.
It is.
Culture shock.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and that it's like you put a person in a different society, and then they mold and they become that. So they
Adapt.
adapt, right? And I think what we need to do is just normalize, normalize relationships, understanding people's worth, like treating each other as equals and not treating each other less than each other. Um,
Exactly.
so it goes back to that mindset. But I also feel that it's important to set boundaries, because if you're not setting boundaries, oh, you're just setting yourself up to be stepped on. You know?
Yeah, I honestly think that that's something that I learned from middle school and from having people like bully me and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I learned that I'm not gonna let people walk over me and tell me what to do and stuff like that. And I think that again, going back to relationships, that is something that I learned from people, that you have to kind of, honestly, for me, you gotta show people that you're not just somebody that's a soft
Mhm.
person. I feel like when people look at me initially, they thought that I was innocent and soft and baby,
Yeah.
but I proved all of them wrong. I started becoming like, honestly, I become bitchy with some people. Like, if people get on my nerves, I will get bitchy with them. I'll be like, well, okay, you're not going to do that to me. I know you're not going to do that to me, because guess what? If you do that to me, you're going to have yourself in a sticky situation there, buddy. Like, I've learned to kind of not be aggressive, but I've learned to kind of shift my tone based on the people that I'm speaking with, to kind of not have people walk over me. And I think that it's okay to be affirmative sometimes and
Okay.
be like, I don't know what the word is, be like more, I don't know what the word is, like,
Assertive.
be assertive. Yeah, let's just say that. Be more assertive with people, because then they're gonna look at you, say, okay, I think this person's innocent, I'm gonna walk all
Yeah.
over her. The
People
amount of
usually say I'm an asshole. I say no, I'm just assertive.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, that's what I've learned to do. I've learned to kind of not be an asshole, but be a little bit more assertive with people. And when they do something to me, I address it. I'm somebody that is big, very, very big in communication.
Mhm.
Especially in my relationship, my past relationship, and my friendship, I'm
Yeah.
always communicating with this person, with my friends. If there is an issue that I have with a person, I am not shy. I will bring it up. I will tell
Yeah.
you what you are doing wrong, and I will call you out on your
What
shit.
you're doing wrong. I will tell you what you're doing wrong.
No, but also I know what I do wrong too. Like, I'm somebody where if I'm communicating with
You
somebody,
hold yourself accountable, do you?
yeah, like, I'll talk about my problems, I'll talk about your problems. Like, it's cool. Like, we'll be talking about each other's problems. It's
Mhm.
fine. But like, no, I call people out on their shit sometimes because they need to hear it. Some
You have
people
to.
just need to
Yeah,
hear it.
I agree.
You know? But I try really hard to kind of, I don't know what the word is, but I just try to be assertive and be understanding of people's situations and what
Mhm.
they're going through. But if I have a problem with something that somebody's doing to me, and if it's affecting me, then I'm not shy anymore to not speak to them about it.
Yeah,
Because I think for the longest time, I always felt that I had to keep things in and that I
muted.
couldn't, yeah, mute, put myself on mute. And I was like, I'm not doing that shit anymore. Nobody is my mother. They're
Punching
not
bag.
gonna mute me. I'm gonna go out there and speak up for myself. And if this person is doing something that I don't like, I'll talk to them about it, you know? And I know, like, a lot of teenagers and stuff vape, for example, and do
Yeah.
weed and do drugs. Like, if I have a friend that does that, I swear to God, I'm gonna tell them to stop. Like, they won't listen to me. That's fine.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna be like, well, you're gonna destroy yourself if you continue to do that. Like, that's the friend that I am. Like, my friend Bertha comes to me for advice like constantly.
Yeah.
I'm her therapist basically at this
Mhm.
point. And I always tell her, and I tell all my friends, I'll give you advice, but it's up to you whether or
To
not
take
what
it.
you do with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. If you want to give advice to people, first of all, if they ask you for it, don't just give advice,
Yeah.
as you'll get problems with that person, trust me. But if they ask you for it, I learned, like, before I used to just give advice and whatever, whatever, but I've learned to kind of say that it's up to you what you do with my advice.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you don't say that, people are gonna say, oh, you told me to do this, and now look what happened.
And they're gonna hold you accountable for their actions.
Exactly. So if Bertha comes to me for advice, I'm gonna be like, look, Bertha, this is what I think you should do. You don't gotta do
Yeah.
it, but here's what I think. This is my opinion. She always ends up doing what I say anyways, because that's how our friendship works. But
And to be honest with you, I think real friends will tell you the things you need to hear and not tell you the
exactly,
things you want to hear. Because
exactly,
what's the point of being a yes person? And then
yeah,
when you think of it, you know, we say like, oh, conflict, right? If there's conflict, everyone assumes that it's bad, right? But
Mm-hmm.
conflict can be good, right? There's good
Absolutely.
conflict because you can't have resolutions and solutions without there being some kind of conflict, right? we could
Exactly. Yeah.
say we could say everything's a compromise, but ultimately a compromise is you giving up something you want and someone else giving up something that they want in order to meet at a common ground, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
ultimately, in conflict, when there is conflict, rather than giving something up, you're understanding and you're putting yourself in that person's shoes to understand why they think the way that they do, why are they doing the things that they do, and they're putting themselves in your shoes and understanding the same, and that's how good solutions get solved, right? Good
Absolutely.
solutions come about, right?
I
So that's the
completely
aspect.
agree with that. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's the only way that solutions will solve. Compromise is a very big thing. That doesn't happen in relationships. I think for a lot of people, but for me, like one thing that I knew even before getting into a relationship, and even if I'd never had one yet, one thing I knew it was like I didn't want to end up like my parents,
Mhm.
constantly arguing and all of that. I don't want that for myself.
No.
I know that nobody's perfect, and that there'll be points in time where you guys, you are gonna argue and have
Mhm.
conflict of interest, but I didn't want to end up in the same position that they did. So for me in my relationship, or my past relationship, I should say, it
Mhm.
was really essential that when we communicated about issues we were having, we did it
Mhm.
mature and very respectful towards each other. Like we never argued ever. If we had a problem, it was usually me that had the problem, not gonna it was usually me that have that problem. I kind of live up to the stereotype of women having all the problems, which I hate that people do that. But you know what? It's fine.
I, to be honest with you, I don't want to sound like a sexist, right?
No,
But a lot of the
it's women.
times,
It's
right?
really the women.
I think that what people need to understand, right? And this is something that I've learned, right? And I've
Yeah.
adapted to. I've been on this whole like, this self journey, per se, right? In which
Hmm.
I've identified that, in a relationship, before being in a relationship with anybody, you were by yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And you lived the
Hmm.
life by yourself, did the things that you loved, right? Didn't think about anyone else, right? And then that person, same aspect, they lived the life by themselves, right? And I think that when coming into a relationship, you should ultimately live that self life, and they
Hmm.
should live that self life, but then you should have a life together, right?
Yeah.
And the purpose of the life together is the person that you want to be with. And this is my opinion, right? This is for me, the person that I want to be with, or I want to grow old with, and I want to like end up with. Ultimately, I want that person to be my best friend, right? Because
Me too.
you right, you could get some,
Yeah. Me too.
yeah, you could be with anyone, right? Ultimately, you could be with someone. Looks fade, right? um uh
Absolutely.
the lust fades, right? If
Yes.
someone if you're with
Absolutely.
someone for lust, ultimately they'll lust after someone else, but ultimately at the end of the day, right, the person you want to be with, why you want to be with your best friend, because, right, looks will only take you so far. You could be with someone if you go with someone for licks, or
People
because, like,
age.
yeah,
I'm
because
16 and my hairline is receding. Okay. People age. I swear
right.
to God.
So if you're with someone, right, for all the wrong reasons, you'll find yourself being with someone maybe 5 to 10 years. You'll wake up one day being with someone that's
You
just
just don't like.
age, and you
Yeah.
can't communicate with them or can't speak to them, or there's no like real substance in that
Hmm.
relationship, right? And it's just like you're gonna wake up 10 to 15 years and just look over and see this person as just that there's nothing there, there's no substance
It's
there,
just no
right?
spark.
As
Spark's
exactly,
gone.
right?
The fireworks have gone down.
Yeah.
They're gone.
And so the person that you want to see yourself with is someone that you could go on these adventures with but still be bored at home
Yeah.
watching a television series, or
Yeah.
like
Watching a telenovela. Like,
yeah, or arguing for like what to eat or something like
Yeah.
go do something simple like grocery shopping and making something out of it. That's the person that you should focus on wanting to be with,
Yeah.
because
I
ultimately,
completely agree.
right? Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And like that's for me, that's who I see myself in the future being with, somebody that I can go on adventures with and have fun with and, work things out mature and respectfully and just honestly have fun because you only got one life.
Yeah.
Like, God
One
forbid.
life is enough if you do it right. Trust me, I know.
Exactly, exactly. And God forbid an asteroid, like the way that I think now compared to how I used to think is like, God forbid we die tomorrow. Do I want to die, not gaining a new experience or not doing what I would like a roller
Agree.
coasters? I have the most, I like hate roller coasters.
Mhm,
And I went to Busch Gardens last week with my friends and my family.
mhm.
I went on 3 extreme roller coasters and I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
So one thing that I learned from that experience, my relationship with the roller coaster is that fear and having fearing stuff is going to keep you from having great adventures. If
Exactly.
you spend your life fearing all of these different things, fearing, getting into a relationship, fearing going on a freaking roller coaster, you're
Mhm.
missing out on great opportunities and great adventures.
Agree.
Also, if you fear what people are going to think about you, that's like the worst thing you can do because it doesn't matter what people think about you. What matters is how you feel about yourself. And
Yep.
I'm grateful for where like my self-love journey has come a long way.
Yeah.
And like I know who I am as a person. I know what I want. I know what I want to do, where I
Mhm.
want to be. Obviously, I'm still learning because
Yeah.
I'm still 16, so I don't have everything figured out. But I have majority of my life figured out, I would
Mhm.
say. Um, but yeah, and you bring up a point that I kind of want to like piggyback off of
Mhm.
about like the lust fading and stuff like that. One thing that I honestly, it's really like it's really like horrid what I'm about to say and like
Yeah.
morbid, but honestly, I feel like love is just like any other emotion. It comes and goes. Like
Mhm.
sadness, happiness, you experience it for a period
Mhm.
of time, but it'll go away.
Uh,
And I feel like our society,
uh,
hold
I
on,
got
wait,
yeah.
hold
All
on.
right.
I'm gonna hold on. I feel like society makes love to be like such a wonderful thing, and oh my
Yeah.
god. But then, like, if love is such a oh my god thing, then why do people fall out of love for somebody if it's an emotion that
Yeah.
is so craved about or
But
raved
I think if they fall out of it, then they were never really in
in
it,
it?
right? So
Yeah.
now, if you think of it, right, because a lot of I think there's a thin line between lust and love, right?
Mhm.
And like your parents, right? A child's first love, right, is their mother, is their father, is their parents, right? And then those are the people that teach us what love is ultimately, right? Your love
Absolutely.
for your siblings, and then ultimately the person that you find, right, is you're finding that person that blends with everything, right? That's
Hmm.
someone that could kind of fit that piece in that puzzle of everything fitting together, right? And I think that like love, right? Me personally, I never fall out of love, right? I could like, yeah, I'll have like bad ties, whatever, and stuff like that, but I don't fall out of it, right?
Hmm.
It's because like I wear my heart on my sleeve,
Yeah,
and I
me
feel
too.
like yeah,
Me
and I
too.
feel like if it's an emotion that's so strong, and it's like loving someone isn't giving them the world, right?
Absolutely.
Love is
Yeah.
love is being able to build a world with someone having a place in it, right?
Hmm.
And it's the idea that like you're in this relationship, you're with this person, you see yourself growing old with this person. This is the person that you could wake up to every day, or the person that you see yourself be, because ultimately your kids grow up, they move out of the house, right? Your parents get like, you grow up, you move out of your house, then it's just you, and then that person that you're looking for is gonna ultimately, you're looking for the person that's gonna give you that familiar feeling of home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is, we're all searching for that
Feeling of
familiar
home.
feeling of home with someone.
Honestly, yeah. And I feel like we're also searching for that feeling that, okay, not everybody, but I'm gonna go with teenagers.
No.
I feel like teenagers, most of us don't really want to be in a relationship, but because of social
Just
media
trying to get
and
those emotions out.
TikTok, yeah, literally, no. I feel like most of us don't want to be in a relationship, but when we go on TikTok and stuff and we see happy couples coexisting, it's like we want the aspects
Yeah,
of a
yeah,
relationship, but not the actual relationship.
yeah.
I feel like that's how a lot of teenagers are nowadays.
Mhm,
They want the aspects of it, like, the attention and
mhm.
the just the love in general, but you can have love without
Yeah, I
relationship.
I agree. To be honest with you, when I was um in middle school, right? Like
Mhm.
I was so like I grew up like so closed off and protected, right? Went to when I first went to public school, we went to a school in a good area, right? And it was like right, it was like not really multicultural, right?
Mhm.
And it was just like everyone was just kids, right? I didn't know what sex was, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know what none of that was. I didn't know all I cared about was WWF, into wrestling, playing like cards and stuff like that. Just like just
Now
like
all the
playing
freaking
tag.
elementary school kids know what
Yeah,
that is.
yeah.
All of them.
I
There's
went
not
to
one single kid that does not.
so when I went to middle school, right? Middle school, I had my first experience dating someone, right? I thought relationships were so everyone, all of the people around me, they already knew what sex was, right? They knew what sex was. They knew what that was, right? Everyone was like making fun because I was a virgin, right? Everyone
Mhm.
was making fun of
You were
me.
in middle
Yeah,
school, like, oh
I
my
was
god.
in middle
You
school,
know,
right? I was
do
in
you
middle
know
school.
how many
Yeah,
non-virgins are like in middle
yeah,
school now? Like,
yeah.
I'm so shocked to hear when like a 12-year-old had
So
that. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
so this is middle school. The first girlfriend that I had, um, like was just like holding hands, walking to McDonald's or something like that. That was probably my first date at McDonald's and stuff like that, just holding hands. I didn't know, like, right. To me,
Yeah,
that's what a
yeah.
relationship was. Oh, you go out with someone, you're holding hands, you're walking
You
on
go
the
to
street.
McDonald's,
Yeah,
like
like, oh,
you get a
yeah,
McChicken.
like you hug, like you just like peck on the lip, and then that's it. Like, oh,
Yeah,
we're together, happily ever after,
happily ever
stuff like
after.
that.
The doves released.
Yeah, I remember I used to just like be in class writing her notes and just like slipping
Aw,
it to the back, whatever. She ended
that's
up
so
leaving
cute.
me, right? She ended up
Oh.
leaving me for our ex boyfriend, right? Her ex boyfriend. She broke up with the guy to get with me. That she got with me. That she broke up with me, got back with the guy, whatever, right? But I was like, I didn't know, right? I didn't know what to expect. That was like my first girlfriend. It wasn't really a relationship,
Yeah.
but it was like that was my first
You
experience,
were
right?
dipping your toes in the water.
I was dipping my toes in the water.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I went, I would say, until I went to high school and like start growing a mustache and like
You
letting
hit
my hair grow.
puberty.
Yeah, when I
You
hit
hit
puberty, as
puberty.
soon as I hit puberty, then like everyone was like liking me. Then I became popular and stuff like that. But it was just like I wouldn't have never thought of it. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a thought in my mind, you know.
Until people put it. Like for me,
Mm,
I went to Catholic school for nursery, I think
yeah.
through kindergarten.
Mhm.
Then I go to public school in first grade and I learn curse words. I learn what sex is. I'm like,
First
what?
grade.
Like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know that these things existed.
Mhm.
And then once I feel like middle school is the worst. Like, everybody says high school is like a bad time. Middle school is the worst time that anybody will have. It's such an awkward freaking time and a phase for people because
Yeah.
you're hitting puberty. All these dudes have these hormones and all these girls have these hormones, and everybody's just crazy and awkward and uncomfy. I hated middle school. It was such, oh my God. I had gaps in my teeth. Like,
Oh
we
my
were
god.
all ugly little freaking twats. Like, we were just like middle school is just the worst time. And then you get to high school and then you just like you hear all your friends are doing these things, doing drugs, having sex, and I'm just like,
In
ah, like
middle school, that's wild.
you hear that people are doing it in middle school, but when you get to high school, you hear that your friends have already done it in middle school
Yeah.
or they're doing it now. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm a virgin. Y'all have fun though. Like, y'all have fun. You can do you, boo, but I'm gonna just chill back here. I'd rather not get killed by my parents.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm pretty sure they'll definitely kill you
oh
if
yeah.
you do.
Yeah, I mean, I almost got killed for having a boyfriend, so I'd rather not get murdered. So just put it out there, rather not get murdered. And mom, if you're listening, I'm a virgin because you like to ask me that a lot. I am a virgin. And I'm just being honest here. I'm such a very ever since I was young, I've always been an open and expressive kid. I've never hid my emotions. I mean,
Yeah.
from certain people I did, but I've always talked about things and I've always brung things up. And honestly, if people like me, they like me. If people don't like me, they don't like me. I don't give a shit anymore. Like, if y'all don't like me, that's your problem. Like, you're missing out on a very great person, okay? But I'm not gonna lie to you, to people. Like, I'm just not gonna lie about me or,
No.
you know, I'm gonna just be honest
So
because
so if we had to ask you who is Eliza, right? If someone was to ask you who is Eliza, right? Who are you? Right? What would your answer be? Like what would be your response?
oh, that's hard because who is Eliza? Well, honestly, I'm just somebody that cares a lot about people and wants to make a difference in society, but also I'm somebody who's still trying to figure out just life in general. I Everybody thinks that I have everything in order and that I'm this prim and proper teenager that is going to have such a great future. And yes, that's true. I will have a bright future. I'm still somebody that is trying to make new experiences and learn from them. I'm somebody that's open, honest, expressive. I will tell you what you don't want to hear, and I'll be honest with you. I'm somebody that likes to make people laugh all the time. I'm a comedian. I love making people laugh. And I'm somebody that like even if I have things going on, I'll try not to show it. I'll try to be positive for other people,
No.
and you know, but that's just who I
Like a
am.
social compass.
Exactly. Honestly, I'm a hot mess. That's it. At least I'm hot, I'm a mess. But I'm very anxious. I get depressive episodes every now and then, but I'm just a hot mess. Like you know what? I'm the best of both worlds. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
I could be chaotic and I could be prim and proper.
Bipolar is your superpower.
Exactly. Nailed it. That is what I should have said. I feel like a lot of people could tell that I'm how anxious I am by watching this because a lot of my thoughts don't really go in a straight direct path. I don't know if you noticed that. They kind of go like this. Oh, you know what? I have paper right in front of me. This is how my thoughts go. I'll just draw it for y'all. Ready? So I could start right here at this dot is one thought, and then I just go like that. That's how I am. That's how I am. I won't change it for the world. It makes me me. It keeps my ideas interesting. I always have great ideas. But you know what? I like to say that my anxiety is a superpower,
Yeah.
to be honest.
And if we had to ask you what makes you unique, right? What makes Eliza unique? What makes you unique?
Honestly, I'm gonna go with such a stereotypical answer and say like what everybody tells me, but it's the truth. My personality is
Yeah.
what makes anybody unique. Personality is who you are. It's who you define, how you define yourself. I think that I'm somebody where you can't really find a lot of people like me because I'm just like I said, I'm people don't know what to expect when they meet me. Like you could see me as a very prim and proper, got my life together type of person, very innocent. But then you can see the other side of me that's like chaotic and like wild and like I like to go to parties and I like to dance and have fun. Like people don't expect that I'm the type of person where like I like to have fun. I don't like, but that's my personality is just one in a million.
And what would if there's anything you would change about yourself? What would it be and why?
So I feel like there's been a lot of points in my life where I wanted to change who I was and what I look like and stuff like that. But honestly, I realized like I can't change anything. Like I like who I am. I think I have a beautiful personality. I think I'm a fun person. Honestly, if I could really just narrow down and change a specific thing, honestly, I think it would be kind of prioritizing myself a little bit more over others. Because I feel like I put other people before myself sometimes. But
Mhm.
other than that, I feel like I love who I am and where I'm at, where I'm going. So I wouldn't change that. And also, one thing that being in a relationship too, my friend, one thing he taught me was that, um, shit, I just had it in my brain and I was fridge. He told me he was saying something and now I can't remember it. Damn it. Hold on, it'll come to me. Give me 1 second. I'm having a blonde moment really quick. Well, okay. He basically taught me to just live in the moment and, not worry too much about things that'll happen, what will happen, what if this happened, what if that.
Mhm.
Told me to just live in the moment now before it goes away. Yeah. I think that's what I was trying to say. I really don't remember. It was like sitting right on my head and then it just went boom out of my brain. Boom. Anyways, going like I said, I'm chaotic. This is just how I am.
And
This is who I am.
so we know that you have your channel, so you're doing your channel. Um, then I believe you just turned down doing a pageant in uh, um, DR. You just
Yes.
turned down doing that pageant.
I
Um,
will be doing another one though. So stay tuned for that, y'all. But I will be doing another pageant.
mhm,
I'm honestly hoping that this will be my last one for a while
mhm,
because being in the industry has done a lot to my mental health and done a lot. Honestly, it really has because when you have repeated instance of failure, it kind of just engraves into your head that you not necessarily that you are a failure, but it's I want to win at something. You know what I mean? Like like it's just when you constantly when you've been doing something for so many years
mhm.
and you just have no results, you feel like in a cycle that you can't get out of. So it would be nice to win something finally. And just kind of, but I'm hoping that this is the last one for a bit because I will be going to college next year, which is very nervous, but I will be
Any
building.
colleges
Oh,
picked out? Where have you decided?
I have not decided. I just applied to Harvard yesterday
Nice.
because they're test optional for the next 4 years. So you can fail your SAT and they won't know. They don't need to know. They said no, we test optional for 4 years, but I applied there. So far I have 3 running acceptances. I'm just waiting to hear back from everything that I've applied to and then make a decision. I don't want to make a decision too early and regret it. Um, so I'm waiting to hear back from one university in particular. They're taking so long. Oh my god. But I'm waiting to hear back. So hopefully, fingers crossed that I get into the ones that I want to get into. But I'm honestly really nervous for college because I'm gonna be 16 and everybody else is gonna be like 18. So I feel like that's gonna be super awkward. Like I just have it played out in my head how awkward that's gonna be for me because everybody is gonna be 18. They're gonna be doing like adult shit, and I'm gonna be sitting there like they're gonna invite me to a party. I'm gonna be like, oh, I can't go to a party. I'm sorry. Like that's why I'm really nervous for college. That's legit only.
I think you'll crush it. To be honest with you, I think
Thank
you'll crush it.
you.
Just keep down the same path that you're on, that journey. You've come this far. You didn't come this far just to come this far.
Yeah, literally.
Right? Um, damn. And like, like, tell us a little bit about your goals. Like, where do you see yourself within the next 5 years? What does that look like?
Okay, so in the next 5 years, obviously, I don't know what will happen in 5 years. I am not a psychic, and as much as I like to think that I am one and think that I can have a very set in place path,
Yeah.
I know that I will not have that because life happens, things happen. But ideally, in 5 years, I will be, let's see, I'm 16 now. So 5 plus 6 is 11. I'll be 21. So I should be having my bachelor's degree by then. 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, I'll have my bachelor's degree. I'll be on my path to getting a master's. One thing about graduating early that's really exciting is I will be ahead of everybody else necessarily. When my friends graduate high school, I'll have my bachelor's. I'll be on path to my bachelor's. A lot of people will be like 23, I think, when they have their bachelor's. I'll be 21. So I'll be 23 with a master's degree, which that says a lot. for me. That says a lot. But I will have my bachelor's in nursing if all goes as planned, and I will be working at a hospital as an RN, getting my master's, and then hopefully opening up my own clinical practice for therapy and mental health.
Any hospitals you have in mind?
Yes, I really want to work at Tampa General Hospital because it reminds me a lot of Grey's Anatomy because it's a teaching hospital, which means it kind of operates like how Grey's Anatomy works. But I want to work there. I think it's a great hospital. I've heard great things about it. It's close to where I am. I really do want to. I want to live in Tampa, ideally, but taxes are really pricey up there. But I want to live in Tampa, and also if I'll have my bachelor's when I'm 21, so I hope that I'll be moved out of my house by then and I'll be in my own house, make a good salary because nurses make pretty good money. So I really hope that I want to buy a house by the time I'm 22, 23. Who needs an apartment? I'm not gonna sign a 1-year lease and get kicked out. I'm gonna just buy a house. I'm gonna live a nice high life. That's what I want for myself. I was watching this show on Netflix and of all these rich people selling houses, and you know what? I want to live a luxury lifestyle. Like I deserve it. Um,
Yeah, you gotta manifest it. Dream big.
exactly. And honestly, while we're like here and I'm talking about my goals, one thing that I kind of might see myself getting into is when I turn 18, I want to get my real estate license so I can have like a job in real estate and get paid and stuff like that while I'm getting my nursing degree. This way I can save up and buy a house and do all that. And I won't have to work at like, a not good paying job, if that makes sense,
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. You've been
Right.
juggling a lot right now, so we pretty much think you can juggle it later on.
Yeah, later on. I think that's a good thing I'm learning how to do it now so I don't gotta like kill myself over it in the future.
And what about your podcast? Is it something that you see yourself continuing? I know you have a huge following in Germany, if I'm not mistaken, Germany, Russia, and Europe.
Mhm.
Um, like, is that something that you see yourself continuing down that path, opening up new possibilities? You're an inspiration to a lot of kids, mine particularly. I used to speak English. Look up to you. I know a lot of children look up to you and see you as this role model, and you have set such a prime example for kids everywhere. Is that something that you see yourself continuing down that path? What does that look like?
I mean, absolutely. Like to be able to have, even if it's one person, to be able to make a difference in somebody's life is something that I've always tried to embody with who I am. So I definitely do see myself doing podcasts, maybe not as frequently as I do them now, because like I said, I'm gonna be 16 in college. I'm gonna have a lot going on mentally. So I don't know if I'll be able to handle doing a podcast every single week and adding more onto my plate. But I know I definitely will be doing that. Honestly, I really see myself writing a book when I'm older about like everything, my life, everything that I've done. Like I really, ever since I was younger, like writing a book has always been something that I've wanted to do. I never mentioned this in this, but I really do love writing. That's one thing that keeps me grounded. So writing is one of the things that I just love doing. I love making stories, and my college essay was pretty busted, if I might add. But I really love English and writing, so I feel like I would write a book, maybe like when I'm like old and crippled though, because I feel like I'm gonna have a very busy life. But I also see myself, having a family and becoming a mom. Because people say that's my character trait, apparently, that I'm just very motherly like. So I see myself having kids. Yeah, just living a good life. I don't want to say happy because I feel like happiness, changes, whatever. But I just want to have a good life.
I think as long as you're
Fully.
happy, self happy, you could say a happy life.
Yeah.
'Cause happiness starts with you. Um, yeah, definitely. Before I let you go, what we are going to be doing, well, what we're going to be doing is I'm actually doing a raffle. So we're trying to build subscribers for this channel. Once we get up to 20 subscribers, I will be giving someone will be selected from the 20 subscribers to receive a $200 Amazon gift card.
Oh
Um,
wow. I
yeah.
hope I'm that one. I I
So,
buy too much on Amazon. Oh my
all right.
god.
So it will be a $200 Amazon gift card. A lucky person from the 20 subscribers. I'm holding it until I'm giving you till giving everyone till the end of January. Um, we'll see if there's any more gifts to be given out after following or depending on where we are in the numbers wise. Feel free to do to enter. Feel free to email. I'll add my email in the description. Send your name, first and last name, and your email address, and then we're gonna pick it out of a hat to see who's the lucky winner. So we'll be doing that as well.
That's
Definitely
exciting.
like and
Y'all
subscribe,
are
people.
some lucky bitches, okay?
Yeah.
Y'all are lucky. Excuse my language, but I'm a teenager. We curse. It's whatever. It's whatever.
And I'm also going to be sharing Eliza's links to Eliza's social media, her Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
Podcast.
podcast.
I don't do the Snapchat for
Yeah.
strangers. Everything else is fine. I just don't do Snapchat because I don't want some rando snapping me. So it's not. Yes, no, I don't want that. No, no bueno.
Yeah. So we will. I'll be sharing Eliza's social media, all her podcasts, Instagram, Facebook. Feel free to follow her journey.
Yes,
Um,
please.
she's a dope person, dope personality. Um, and we thank you for being here today, Eliza. Before we let you go, is there anything that you'd like to share? Give us a one fun fact about you, and then give us something that you'd like to share to our audience.
Ooh, okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I'm really honored to be your first guest,
Yeah.
your first teenage guest, especially on here. Also, I apologize for the profanity, because I know like a lot, maybe not a lot, but like people that follow me are gonna watch it and they're gonna probably see me cursing. But I'm sorry, y'all. Like, forgive me. Um, but I'm a human, okay? Just leave me alone. Anyways, a fun fact about me. Let's see. I hate fun fact questions because I never know what to say. Um, well, I guess I could say a fun fact about me is that I was classically trained in Bollywood dancing when I was younger. That's a fun fact.
Mm,
Um, I literally every time we go to school for the first day of school, we always do something like that, like those icebreaker questions, and I
yeah.
never know what to say. I'm like I don't know what to say. And then what was the other question? Just anything I want to share.
If you wanted to leave anything with the audience, if you had like your last words that you had to like
Oh,
leave like your print.
all right. Well, I mean, I do this every single time I have a podcast with people, and now it's my turn to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, be bold, be beautiful, and be you. That's what I'm gonna say. Do you for you, boo. Love yourself and like take time and prioritize yourself first because that's the only way you're gonna build better relationships with people. You gotta know who you are so you can help others and uh, love other people. Love yourself, embrace yourself. Just do what I do. Just be yourself. Like nobody cares at this point. Don't care about what people think about you. Don't just don't care. Like love who you are and be you. That's all I have to say. You are beautiful. You are unique. Be you. And period.
Mm,
Period. That's
that yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
that's
The
it.
floor is
Period.
yours. Period. Dot.
Dot
See.
her. Okay, like her everything. Like that honestly, that's what we can do. Just be yourself. There's if like I try to tell the people this all the time. If everybody was the same, the world would be gray. If you want to be unique, just be unique. Like I feel like there's a new sexuality coming out like every week, and I'm okay with that. Like y'all do what you want to do, okay? You live your life.
Yes,
Ain't
queen.
nobody gonna take your life away. You gotta live your life. You gotta be yourself. Express so yourself, okay? Express yourself.
Yeah.
Because or else, you know what? Honestly, it sounds morbid, but if you're gonna die regretting everything, if you're not being yourself and doing what you love and doing what makes you happy, then are you really living at this point? Like,
Well, they do say more people show up to someone's funeral than they do when someone's alive, right?
yep.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that you always say that.
And that is
But
the truth.
that's the truth. That's the best piece of advice that I give anybody is just be yourself. Don't worry about what people think about you. And just live your life to the fullest because you only get one life. You're not a cat. You don't get 9 lives. You get one life. Live it to the fullest, okay? What you do in your afterlife, honey, that's your business, okay? You just live your life now, live in the moment, like what I was taught, and just have fun. That's my advice. Have fun, live in the moment, and be yourself.
Yeah. With that said, we'll close out the show. Thank you, everyone. This is episode 5 of We Talk TV, focused on mental health and relationships amongst
And Eliza's
teens,
anxiety.
analyzes anxiety. What is it? My anxiety is chronic, but this is iconic, right in
Yeah,
there.
sure. I like that. You know what? I really like that. I'm gonna have to write that down, actually. I love that. Yep, that embodies me to the T. I think I said what did I say? I think I said that my anxiety is just a part of who I am. It makes me like it's my superpower.
With that being said, I thank everyone today. I thank you, Eliza, for being our very first guest on We Talk TV.
Thanks
Um,
for having me on.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, to enter that giveaway. Feel free. Send me an email, first name, last name, and your email address. And till next time, peace.
Bye. Thanks for having me.